Jason.
What?
Can you believe all these shitty Marvel Cinematic Universe tier lists we're looking at?
Dude, I'm shaking.
This is terrible. I don't understand how someone could rank these movies in this way. Isn't there anybody out there who can do this properly?
I've been looking, dude. I can't find anybody.
Well, I guess there's one thing we need to do, Jason. Just like Thanos did.
Yeah.
We need to take control. We don't want to, but we have to.
Must be done.
So in the words of Thanos, Jason, we are going to say,
Fine. I'll do it myself.
Good tidings, friends, and welcome to Fine, I'll Do It Myself, the podcast where Jason, hi Jason.
Hi.
And I, Mike, hi, I'm Mike. We have tier list all the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies, and then we're adding the new ones as we go, and today we are talking about Thor, Love and Thunder. As some people might call it, the worst Marvel Cinematic Universe movie.
They would be wrong.
They would definitely be wrong.
On all accounts.
Absolutely be wrong. Let's, actually, you know what? I haven't watched the trailer of this movie, have you?
I have, yeah.
Recently?
Not recently.
Well, anyway, here's the trailer.
Kids, get your popcorn now. Let me tell you the story of the space Viking, Thor Odinson. He was no ordinary man. He was a god. After saving planet Earth for the 500th time, Thor set off on a new journey. Well, he got in shape. He went from dad bod to god bod. And after all that, he reclaimed his title as the one and only Thor. Oh, spoke too soon.
Jane? The old ex-girlfriend.
What's it been like? 3, 4 years?
8 years, 7 months, and 6 days, give or take.
Am I, sensing feelings?
Well, you're right.
The only ones who gods care about is themselves.
So this is my vow.
All gods will die.
I just want to say that was very, very impressive what you did back there.
He's just my first bad guy.
You never forget your first.
You are not like the other gods of kill.
Because I have something worth fighting for.
Let's see who you are. I take off your disguise. And flick.
Oh, you flicked too hard, damn it!
Should we help him?
And eventually, grape.
All right, that was the trailer. I actually didn't watch it, so I couldn't tell you anything about it, but it is a trailer.
One thing I'll say about the trailer that's weird is the scene with you know, the Guardians of the Galaxy leaving. They have a different scene there, and I feel like it was actually better than the scene they ended up using in the movie.
The way Star-Lord responds to Thor is better in the trailer than it is in the movie for sure. I agree.
Yeah, it's kind of like he kind of like no sells it in the movie.
Yeah, but in the trailer he goes, "Not me."
He's like, "Are you trying to look in my eyes right now? No, not me."
Right. Anyway, Jason, before we get into our normal categories and such, how did you feel overall about this movie in a short, concise paragraph?
I'd say I really liked it. It's not as good as Ragnarok, but I still think it was really good. And all the people who are like sitting here saying it was too funny, or like they were trying to be too funny, I think that the movie would be bad if it didn't have as much comedy as it had, because it would just be really fucking sad, and I can't handle sad.
Yeah, it does have quite a bit of tinge of sadness to it. My thought is I like the movie. It's definitely not the worst Marvel movie. Like you said, it's no Ragnarok, which is the movie it's always going to be compared to because it's, Taika Waititi directing and
Thor.
They're similar in tone. But I liked it, but I do think a lot of I don't agree with the masses out there that are saying it's a bad movie. I do think a lot of the humor doesn't hit as well as it does in Ragnarok for a bunch of various reasons, which we'll get into. But I'm a bit disappointed by this movie overall. I like it. I just, as the sequel to Ragnarok, I just think it fails to like live up to that pedigree. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, but I think part of it is that it's like, so you have like Thor in Ragnarok, and then you have Thor in Infinity War, and then you have Thor in Endgame. And in Endgame, he is completely fucking different. And it's like, you can't just like act like that didn't happen, even though...
Oh, for sure.
Like, I'm sure it would be way easier to just act like he didn't go to that fat Thor mode, and kind of become the comedy relief character. I think they do need to... Like, he was literally just hanging around playing video games for 5 years and being fat.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
It's going to be completely different.
Anyway,
yeah.
let's go over our stuff first, and then we'll get into what we like and didn't like about this movie. This movie has a 65% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Wow. I hard disagree.
A 78% audience score. So the audience liked it quite a bit better than the critics
Right, I think
did.
78 is more fair. I was going to say, like, I'd give it like a 81, 83 or something like that.
Yeah,
like
I think I'm somewhere in the mid to high 70s with this one.
Yeah.
Personally.
I think I'm like low 80s.
It's made... This is what blows my mind, because people are acting like this movie is an absolute travesty, okay? So far, this is, what's today? August 5th? So it's been out almost a month, okay? This movie has made $307 million domestically, meaning in America.
Damn.
And $669 million worldwide.
For a movie that's apparently bad.
On a budget of $250 million.
That's pretty good.
Estimated budget. We don't know if that's the real budget. That's what people have estimated the budget is.
I thought that's pretty low.
Actually, that's pretty... From what I understand, that's pretty high for a...
Really?
So I remember reading this article where they were talking about how it has an estimated budget of $250 million, which is the most... It's tied for fourth for Marvel for biggest budget. Endgame had a budget of $400 million. Age of Ultron had a budget of $365 million. Infinity War had a budget of $300 million. And then Love and Thunder and Civil War had a budget of $250 million.
Wow. Huh.
Yeah. So that's pretty expensive for these Marvel movies, but still it made its money back times 3, you know what I mean? So
right.
Who could be mad?
In just the first month, yeah.
In just the first month. Yeah, that's not even counting any, like... I mean, I know Blu-ray and DVD sales are down, comparatively to what they used to be, but it's still, it's still a big deal.
I mean, people still buy movies and stuff on like Amazon Video and Prime Video and
they definitely do
all that type of stuff too.
They definitely do. But yeah, so this movie overall a success. So the people on the internet that are trying to tell you this was like the worst Marvel movie or it tanked are just wrong. Like that's just not correct.
I think it's just because Marvel's been doing so good for so long. I feel like people want it to fail a little bit, right? Like,
I think we're gonna see a kind of a slowdown and a turn on superhero movies coming up pretty quick here.
yeah.
I just think they're doing too much, and I think people are getting sick of it. I think they're still gonna do what they planned on doing, but I think with since the last time we recorded, they announced a bunch of shit.
That's true. I think it's a combination of like people, like they've been doing good for so long that there's like people who aren't really like Marvel movie fans to begin with that are just being like very vocal like against it, and then also like there definitely is some people who are gonna be just like burnt out, and I think that that's fair too. And then also a bunch of like the big name people kind of phasing out, right, with characters dying or whatnot.
Yeah.
So it's a combo.
I just think we're gonna see a downturn trending wise, and then it will come back like all things do,
Yeah.
But yeah. So anyway, that we're getting off topic here. What are some? What did you like about this movie, Jason?
Dude, I would say honestly, especially when you compare it to other Thor movies, like visually, it is really good. Like there was really nothing where I was like, wait, what was that with the fucking VFX or whatever? I would say the only thing where I'm kind of like, the only thing I can even slightly think of with that is like the scene where Astrid is like projecting his face or whatever.
Yeah, that looks kind of goofy.
But I don't know if that's supposed to be like because he doesn't know how to use his powers, right? Like, I don't know. I feel like you could easily say that it was like an artistic choice to make it look kind of weird like that.
Right.
Whereas like if it's like Heimdall, I could definitely see it just being like crystal clear, like it's exactly his face, right?
Right. Yeah. To your point, the scenes, like there's a lot of different scenes with like really good like background work.
Right.
Like the scene where early on in the movie they do the Thor thing where he fights off a large army of things by himself, and he jumps in the air with Stormbreaker to like come down on this big like tank kind of thing, and just the sun of that planet in the background with like the different like clouds hanging in it. It's just a very cool, stylistically looking thing, and they do that a lot with the different areas they go to. Obviously the shadow planet, the shadow realm is incredible looking. They do the Bifrost when they're on the Bifrost, and they use it as like kind of like they use a boat on it. Just the Bifrost looks beautiful.
It's very visually striking movie.
The city of Omnipotent City. I was like Unobtainium. What is it called? Omnipotent City is just a gorgeous looking place. Like they really nailed the effects, and like it's not perfect, but with a lot of the stuff that we're hearing about the way Marvel handles VFX, I think people should probably take a step back of being really like super critical on that stuff.
Right.
Like this like. The worst like VFX I can think of in a Marvel movie is the end of Black Panther, and there's nothing here that like approaches that. Like everything's really good looking for the most part. Gore looks fantastic, and every moment he's in. So like visually, you're right. This movie's really good. What else did you like about it?
I would say Gore is like definitely up there. He's so good.
Great villain.
Yeah, honestly, and what's so crazy, right, is like when you have a character where their mouth is very striking, normally the rest of them is like purposefully not as interesting, right? Because it's like you want the viewers like to be looking at the best part of them, right? But with him, like his mouth is very striking because it's got like the like corruption or whatever in it, right? But then also his eyes. It's like the contacts plus like VFX combo. He looks like he's freaking like Norded in Kingdom Hearts, bro. Like he's actually his eyes look so freaking cool. So I think it's really cool just visually that he has striking eyes and his mouth is very striking as well. I think the makeup form is really cool.
All the scar work on him is really insane looking too.
Yeah, even in the first scene when he's not full on Gore the God Butcher, he's just Gore, right? Like
like all the burnt skin he has on him, and scabs and stuff like that. Yeah, no, for sure. We'll talk about him a little more later when we talk about if he was a good villain, which spoilers, we think he's a good villain. But just really visually striking. He's very cool looking. But any other points you want to make on it before I jump in about what I liked?
I would say also I liked that the intro. So the first time I watched the movie, I was like, the intro was just bad, but then I liked the rest of the movie, right? But having watched it a second time, I feel like it's almost like I don't want to say like purposefully bad, but I feel like it's a very self-aware intro, right? Like, hey, this is a Thor movie, classic Thor adventure, you know what I mean? Like it's very self-aware in that. And it's kind of just like, okay, hey, we kind of got to do this to get to how we want to tell the story, right? Not that I think that that's like a super great thing, but it did make me like it a little bit more. Like, I think you can do this. I think you can get to how you want to tell the story without doing it like that. But I think it's kind of like, okay, well, do we want to completely change the Thor formula for the intro, or do we want to do something like this? And I think it's fine. I really like Korg. So I do like the intro in that way. And then thinking about it in that way where it's like, yeah, I mean, you can either fundamentally change like how Thor movies are, or you can do this. And so I'm fine with it. I'm not super in love with it, but I like it more because of that. But yeah, I think the second and third act of this movie are way better for sure, and I really like them.
Okay. What I liked, I think when the movie's funny, it's very funny. I don't know that it's always funny.
Right.
And it's not supposed to be always funny, but I think sometimes it's supposed to be funny and it's not as funny. I do like the theme of the movie, kind of like the theme of, you know, God's not answering, you know, your prayers and what you need from them, and are gods even worth having? You know what I mean? Like can they actually love and help you? And, you know, it seems like the answer's no, but then at the end, you know, there's Thor doing, you know, what theoretically all the gods should do, right?
Yeah, he's doing the right thing.
I really like the shadow monsters that Gore summons.
True.
And you and I were talking about this off air, but like the necro sword, or the sword that Gore typically uses, is a symbiote sword, and obviously they couldn't use that, so they kind of switched it up a little bit and made them shadow monsters instead of symbiote monsters. And I think that's really cool. I really like how they look. I like the scene where Gore has them in his tent and he has them wrapped up in the tentacles, and the tentacles look almost furry, almost like Don't Starve. You know how like some of the monsters at night look, they're shadows, but they look like furry and like gross and weird. I just really enjoy that imagery. It's different. It's not something we've seen in Marvel before. If they were just like tentacles, it'd be like, okay, slimy tentacles, we get it.
Right,
but like,
right.
I don't know. I like the way they ended up doing it.
They're almost like vines, kind of in that way. Yeah.
Yeah, almost.
Instead of tentacles.
I really like, to your point, I really like Gore. I really like Christian Bale's performance as Gore. I think they could have given him more. Like, we could have had one or two more Gore scenes, and I think it would have made the movie only better. And it sounds like, from what I'm hearing, a lot of that stuff ended up on the cutting room floor.
Yeah, I'd want to see. I'm very curious. I would want to see a director's cut of it, but I know Taika Waititi's gone and said like, hey, I'm not releasing a director's cut because they normally suck.
Well, he also said it wasn't just that they suck, but he was saying like, this is the director's cut. Like, no one stopped me from putting what's in the movie, what I wanted to put in the movie, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah, but I'd be interested to see what didn't make the movie that was there. I know that Jeff Goldblum and What is his name? The guy that helps Thor make Stormbreaker.
Oh, I don't remember. Like the big dwarf dude.
Yeah. Now I gotta look him up. Game of Thrones.
Oh, you're trying to think of the actor's name.
Peter Dinklage.
Oh, okay.
Peter
I thought you were
Dinklage
talking
had a
about
cameo in the movie. And
I thought you were talking
people
about
are-
the Marvel character. I was like, I don't know the Marvel
Yeah, well, I said
character's
Jeff
name.
Goldblum.
I don't know. When you say the guy who does this, I'm thinking of the character's name, not Peter Dinklage.
Yeah, I couldn't think of Peter Dinklage. I couldn't think of his name. But he had a cameo apparently, and it's hypothesized that Gore killed both of those characters, but then he cut it because it was redundant, so to speak. I like how they shot the end scene with Eternity, in the cool final world looking stuff. I like most of the. I liked Jane Foster in the movie too. I think. In the first two Thor movies, I felt like they didn't give Natalie Portman a lot to do.
Yeah.
Like even in the Dark World, which is supposed to be about her being taken over by this Infinity Stone ancient thing, I just felt like they didn't give her a lot to do. Like it was more about Thor and Loki, which is fine. But I feel like this movie they gave her a bit more to do. They let her be her awkward self.
Well,
but also, yeah.
What's really cool is she believably in the same movie is both so sick, like chemo ridden, super small, sunken eyes, and then a mighty Thor. I feel like that's just crazy to do both of those in the same movie and have it be really well done. I think it's really cool.
Well, and I looked for this on our second watch, but if you look at her when she's in the chemo chair, they purposely, most of the shots frame her where they're not showing her arms because she got ripped for this role.
Right.
And they couldn't fake that, right? But you have to have your arms exposed when you're getting chemotherapy. So, because you notice in the first part of the movie, they really put her in a lot of clothing.
Yeah, that's true.
Because they don't want to show her juiced arms that they show off when they first show her as Thor because she's just looking ripped. But if you watch closely during the chemo scene, you can see that she's pretty ripped there too. But they did a really good job with the makeup of making her look absolutely sickly when
every time she's sick, she's in that long sleeve pullover type thing. Yeah, that makes sense actually. Yeah.
Well, and it's also interesting how it's not just she looks stronger. They use CG to make her taller. When she's Thor, she has blonde hair.
Yeah,
because she's the same height as Tessa Thompson, the actress that plays Valkyrie, and they made her a good 3-4 inches taller just standing there.
Yeah, because Natalie Portman is really short in general.
I really, this is the most I've liked her as Jane Foster throughout all these movies. I just think they gave her a lot more to do, and it was very, very interesting, the storyline. I also really like my man Russell Crowe's Greek accent. my man Russ went for it, dude. He said, and I read, this is some shitty IMDb trivia already, but I read that Taika Waititi wanted Zeus to be British, but Russell Crowe was like, no, I'm going to do this Greek accent. And he made him shoot, he wasn't sure, so he made him shoot the scenes twice, once with the British accent and once with the Greek accent, and then he went with the Greek accent because it was too good.
Okay.
And I just think that's
cool.
really funny.
Yeah, that is funny.
Russell Crowe was like, hey, this is a Greek accent, and it's it's bad, but it's good bad,
Yeah. Well, and it definitely fits the character because he's supposed to be this shitty ass guy.
Right. Well, I actually did like that. In that scene, they have him walk up to Thor and go, "Hey, man, I'm actually scared about this, but I can't let people see that."
Right.
And it made, instead of him just being a pompous asshole, it gave him a little more depth.
A little bit, yeah. Which you're not sure if he's just trying to manipulate him still, but you didn't really have to say that, but yeah.
And yeah, I really like the movie overall. Obviously Chris Hemsworth is just Thor at this point, right? Like,
Yeah,
I
he's so good.
I do like Valkyrie. I wish they gave Valkyrie more to do, and we'll talk about that in a minute. And I did really love Korg. I like the characters in the movie.
I think I just want more, right? It's like I want more gore scenes. I want like more for Jane to do, even though she does have a lot. Like I just like to see more of that. It would have been cool to actually see, like obviously you see him kill a god at the very beginning, but like if you could have seen him done some crazy shit to kill that big ass wolf or something, or like anybody else, like
yeah, that's something I was going to mention, and things I didn't like. Something we didn't do with gore is show him actually kill a god other than the first one.
Yeah.
You know, like you see the terror that he leaves behind in his wake, but like, I don't know, I would have liked to see some of it, maybe.
Right.
Anyway, things we didn't like. I'm going to start. I don't, okay, let me preface this. I am a Michael Giacchino bro. I love Michael Giacchino and his scores, typically. Okay? And I don't know if he's just doing too many movies, because he did a lot of movies this year. This soundtrack / score was his weakest that I've heard in a long time.
Yeah.
And it's mostly because of the use of Guns N' Roses, the gratuitous use of Guns N' Roses. And I don't understand it really, other than they go, oh, by the way, Heimdall's son likes Guns N' Roses. You know, the Sweet Child of Mine song makes sense at the end of the movie, but they play it in other parts. Welcome to the Jungle works in the opening scene because that's just a cool song, right? For Thor to kill things to. But they have Paradise City in there at one point. They use Sweet Child of Mine twice. They use November Rain in one of the... And it's just like, it doesn't really make sense as to why this is a Guns N' Roses movie. Like, I don't get what the theme is supposed to be there.
Yeah,
you know what
I don't know. Maybe that just really screamed Space Viking to them. I don't know. I didn't really like the use of Only Time in it, to be honest.
Oh, you didn't like Only Time?
I thought it was a bit... It was kind of like... I don't know. I wasn't super in love with it.
I guess let's just say they leaned on a lot of like popular music for the score.
Right.
And they've done that in Thor movies before and in other Marvel movies. But I just don't feel like it was done well.
Yeah, it didn't really hit for me, yeah.
No. With the exception being Hey Nini Nani by Taika Waititi.
Yep.
Which is a banger song. And then I liked Rainbow in the Dark for the credits. But I thought they could have used Rainbow in the Dark somewhere else instead of a Guns N' Roses song, I guess.
I liked how they used November Rain. That was the only one where I was like, I liked the very beginning of Welcome to the Jungle, because I felt like that just the beginning of that song is really that's kind of how I feel about the song too. Like I like the beginning, not so much the rest of the song. Like, I kind of like, okay, yeah, I'm probably skipping the song now if it's my Spotify, right? Like partway through, but. Yeah, I think the beginning of it really works, and then I actually did like how they use November Rain. But yeah, other than that, I didn't feel like there was a lot of hits. Bubble,
like you're saying, in a bubble, they use Welcome to the Jungle, and then they use November Rain, and I'm not as out on it. It was just like they like...
Yeah.
I'm having a hard time saying what I want to say here or saying it properly, but it's just like... You know, there are movies that have, like, bands as part of, like, this isn't a Marvel movie, but I Love You, Man, right? The movie with Paul Rudd and Jason Segel.
Right, and they love Rush.
And they use a lot of Rush in it, but, like, Rush is a big part of the movie.
Right.
Or, what's the LARPing movie with Paul Rudd? This is a Paul Rudd thing, apparently.
I don't know what you're talking about.
There's the LARPing movie with Paul Rudd where they talk about Kiss a lot, so they use a few Kiss songs. And it's like, okay, this movie literally, Heimdall's son likes Guns N' Roses. He wears a Guns N' Roses shirt at a couple points, and he has a poster. And then he says, oh, I changed my name to Axel, which I was going to save for, like, when we're talking about nitpicks, but, like, okay. In 2025 or whenever this is, let alone in 2022, okay, where we are right now in real life. No one is going to look up Guns N' Roses. Like, say someone introduced him to Guns N' Roses, fine. I have no problem with that because they have a lot of fans and they have a lot of cool music. According to some people, I think they're fine, but whatever. No one is gonna like research them and get into them and then go, hey, this lead singer seems like a cool dude. I want to change my name to his name.
He's so cool, I want to have his name.
No fucking shot, dude. There's no way anybody that knows anything about Axl Rose is like, yo, I'm Axl now. Fucking bullshit, dude. He could have said, if they would have said, I've named myself Slash, I would have been like, okay, I can see that. Slash is cool. Axl Rose is the like shittiest dude in like one of the shittiest dudes in like music history, okay? There's no way. Like if this movie was set in the 80s, sure. He changed his name to Axl. Cool. No way in past like the year 2000 is anybody saying I'm named after Axl Rose. Fucking bullshit. I'm calling bullshit, Taika Waititi. I know you like Guns N' Roses, but that's bullshit. And maybe they were like, oh, Axl's kind of a Norse name. Like, I get that. But it's just so dumb. Like it's just.
I don't know how do you even come up with that? It just seems really random. Like why?
Right. It was almost like Taika Waititi said, "Hey, Michael Giacchino, it'd be really cool if we put a bunch of Guns N' Roses in this movie." And then Michael Giacchino was like, "Well, that doesn't really make a lot of sense." And he goes, "Oh, I got it. Let's write this into the script." You know what I mean? And I just don't get why. Like it just doesn't. It rubs me the wrong way, and not just because I don't really like Guns N' Roses. I just feel like lazy is not the right word, but it feels like
kind of forced.
Like you watch Guardians of the Galaxy, which has popular music in it from a certain time period, but you feel like those songs were like painstakingly selected to be in those certain parts of the movie. Right? Yeah, James Gunn.
I was going to say this
earlier.
With, it was kind of like, imagine if Guardians of the Galaxy, like half or more of the soundtrack is just David Bowie. Like,
I might be into that more though, because at least David Bowie's like a spacey kind of dude, right?
Yeah.
Like you're like, okay, he's written multiple songs about like space travel and like, you know what I mean, and just being a freaky dude. The equivalent would be like Come and Get Your Love by Redbone, right? If Redbone just curated the soundtrack of Guardians of the Galaxy. I can't think of any other Redbone songs, but you know what I mean. Like, yeah. It's like, because it's just so weird that they did this, and it's not satisfying to me. And as a fan of Michael Giacchino, I'm disappointed. Anyway, that was like my 10 minutes talking about that. What else did I not like about the movie? I didn't like the goats. That just feels like a joke from like 10 years ago.
I was fine with it, but it is used a bit much, right? Like when they run into the moon or whatever, and they like are yelling, kind of almost like, "Hey, we're here." I felt like that was fine. When they first show up, that's fine, and then when they're in the ship. And, like, it's supposed to be like, yo, Thor and the Guardians aren't actually really getting along anymore. Right. And, like...
Actually, my favorite use of the goats, the only one I really, really liked, is when they summon the boat when they're in Omnipotent City and they're trying to leave. And you just hear, like... like, coming through the window. You know, I liked that. Other than that, they were overused. And you said something about... Didn't you read something about Taika Waititi wanted to put him in to see what the next director would do with them or something like that?
Yeah, it was in like one of those interviews where it just is somewhere in the press cycle, right? Like it's literally on video, like him saying, "Yeah, I just kind of want to see what the next person like has to do or what they can do." Because, like, it is in the... Because he was saying, like, yeah, the goats are actually in the comics. Like, they're real. And so, I made them screaming, so just because I wanted to see what the next person's going to do with these screaming goats. Like,
right. Which is kind of funny.
And then I think he talked about how, like guys, these screaming goats are not that weird. Like, Loki literally turns into like a snake and then like has sex and then has like snake babies. Like that's real, guys. Like I could have gotten way weirder.
That's true. He could have. Overall, though, like my main gripe isn't just the goats. It's just there's certain humor that I feel like just doesn't.
I think the worst part of the goats is when like they just went to the Shadow Realm and like both Valkyrie is like bleeding out, and it kind of I was kind of worried the first time watching it that she was actually gonna die, right? Because like it kind of felt like they might have foreshadowed it before, like how she's talking about how like it's kind of my plan to die in battle. Yeah. Like I kind of just want to die in battle type thing, and I was like, oh shit, are they actually killing her? Like there's no way. But then obviously she doesn't. But the goats are like screaming in that scene when they get teleported in, and it's like, okay, like can we have it be like serious for like 1 second? Like at least try and bait me that she's gonna die like a little harder, right? Like the screaming goats kind of pulls you out of the fact that Jane's fucking dying because she doesn't have the hammer, and then Valkyrie's bleeding out from being stabbed by the Necro Sword or the Thunderbolt. I don't remember which she was stabbed by, but
I think he stabs her with the Necro Sword, doesn't he? Or does he stab her with her sword?
Yeah, I couldn't remember.
He stabs her with something. I have two more main gripes I want to say.
Okay.
And I'm not trying to be overly negative because I did like the movie, but there's things that bothered me. Not necessarily the intro like you were talking about earlier. Even though I don't like the use of like footage from other movies like heavily, it felt weird. But the scenes with the Guardians, I didn't like it. And I really like the Guardians. That's probably one of my favorite MCU properties.
Well, they kind of only use Star-Lord, and then like Mantis. Drax has one line.
It didn't feel like them to me. And it felt like, and part of this is something you talked about earlier already, where Thor has changed as a character since the last time we saw him in a Thor movie, where he's become not just like funny, but this like he was the comedic relief in Endgame, right? And it's a very strange thing because we didn't watch those movies. We watched Ragnarok and then went right to Love and Thunder, right? And it's pretty jarring to me. And I feel like he, comedic wise, is just missing this whole beginning. Like there's not the chemistry between the Guardians that I felt like was there in Infinity War.
I think that partially it's supposed to be on purpose. Like that's the vibe I got. Is because like okay, they're not really liking each other anymore, and Thor is kind of on some like, oh, I'm way more important and I'm way more serious than I actually am. Like he's kind of trying to blow himself up because he feels like shit about himself.
But that was also the vibe in Infinity War, and it just worked so much better. Now he's like goofier now, right? But the vibe in Infinity War was like he would like, remember they would argue about a plan, and Star-Lord would be like, "I'm the captain," and he'd be like, "Well, it's my plan." You know what I mean? Like they were, and I felt like it worked better, even though they weren't getting along. I felt like they still had comedic chemistry, and I feel like it was just sucked out of the room in this scene. The only parts of that really like made me chuckle. I do like Thor riding Stormbreaker like a broom,
like a witch,
like a witch. That made me laugh. And then I told you this after we saw it in the theater, but when and this has nothing to do with Thor, when Kraglin comes in after marrying the woman and Groot goes, "I am Groot," like that, and that fucking killed me for some reason. Like I just thought that was, and like, but there's ones where they thought like they were like, this is really funny, and I just didn't land for me, like Nebula like like making that noise.
No, it was Mantis,
No, okay, I wasn't even talking about that one. There's a point where Nebula just growls at Thor, and he goes, "Not that one." But you're right. Mantis makes a noise or something
she
like
doesn't
that too.
growl. She doesn't growl at them. She's like, hurry up.
No, there's another time she growls. Maybe it's not that scene, but she like growls at one point or yells or something. And I was just like that. They thought that was really funny. You know what I mean? And I didn't think so.
Well, because I remember Mantis does that weird noise because Korg is trying to do the whistle.
Right.
And he's like, you try. And yeah, I think that joke is bad.
Yeah. But they like Nebula. She says to hurry up, but there's another time she just kind of yells at Thor. Like, and it's like not good. Like, I just felt like they missed it. Like, I don't know how or why. And, you know, I know James Gunn did consult on the movie when the Guardians were involved, but I don't know. It just felt, I was, especially in the second watch, I was just excited to get out of that part of the movie.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm being, I hold the Guardians to a pretty high standard. Like I said, it's like those two movies are two of my favorites, but. And then them in Infinity War and Endgame are great too. So I don't know. It just didn't hit for me. And then finally, I'm trying not to be overly negative. My last thing I had a problem with is just I feel like Valkyrie is just incredibly wasted in this movie.
Yeah.
They don't give her enough to do. She doesn't join the final battle. Why doesn't she have an actual name yet? You know, there's just and they made such a big deal about her being a bisexual character, and then they barely do anything with it. There's just a lot about that they could have done better, I feel like, and they hyped it up. I felt like they hyped her up like she was going to be more important, and then it was just a letdown.
Yeah. Well, I feel the same way with like Lady Sif. Like I felt like I thought she was going to be in the movie more. But
Bro, I can't believe they wasted my girl Lady Sif too, dude.
Yeah. Well, and then
they put her in that ugly ass helmet. What is she wearing that helmet for?
Yeah. Well, also, and then like, this is one of the things where it's like, okay, can everybody not be comic relief, right? Like she's like, she is laying there bleeding out.
Right.
She's had her arm lopped off, and she's telling him, and then she's like, leave me here to die so I can take my place in Valhalla, right? And even like the delivery of the line is kind of weird, right? Like it's like even that part is kind of delivered as a joke. And then he's like, well, technically you wouldn't, like, you need to die in the battle. And she's like, oh shit. It's like, why is Lady Sif saying oh shit right now? Like, what the fuck? It's kind of weird. Yeah. But yeah, and we had talked about this on the ride home from the movie theater. I think it's because there isn't like a secondary bad guy for Valkyrie, really, to handle or take care of or whatever. And like, she kind of just, not that she really has that really in like Ragnarok. She's just kind of killing a bunch of the random people, right? Like whether it's like the skull dudes that Hela raises or the people chasing them in what is that place called? I can't remember. The place where Jeff Goldblum's in charge, bro. I can't remember right now.
Sakaar.
Yeah, like the random dudes in Sakaar that are chasing them, right? Like, no, it's not like she has like something crazy like that, but I think if there was something, it'd be a lot easier to utilize her. But it's just gore and then random shadow monsters, right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
No, I get that.
I think that the reason, and I don't want her to be in the final battle either, because I want it to be Mighty Thor. You know what I mean? I want it to be Mighty Thor's moment. I think it's weird if the only other way I think you could really use her, but I still think it would still take away from Mighty Thor, is like if you have her there and like she's just like extracting the kids, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. I guess the problem isn't that she isn't in the final battle. It's the reasoning they give that bothers me, because he meets up with her. She gives him the lightning bolt, and
she's like, my entire kidney's gone.
Yeah, and he's like, oh, that sucks. And she's like, well, I can't come with you. I would die, and that wouldn't help anybody. Okay, good luck. And it's like, what? If you don't want to bring her, like, have her be in a fucking hospital bed. It wouldn't have been that hard.
Yeah.
And I get then you have two characters in hospital beds, but okay, like, you know, put them in the same room. Boom, easy scene.
Yeah. Well, she's kind of,
hands-
she's like walking around, moving around. And I think that would work. I think that would be her character, right? Like, she would, like, not take it seriously. So it's kind of hard in that aspect. But yeah, they needed to do something in order better than just being like, oh, I would die. So,
Well, especially when you consider, and you brought this up earlier and it made me think of this, that she tells Jane she just wants to get in battle and die so she can go to Valhalla.
Right.
So then she says to him, I would die, and that wouldn't do anybody any good. And it's like, wait, you told someone earlier that you want to die in battle.
Die in battle, yeah.
Right. So it just doesn't make sense, and I just feel like she's been wasted, and I love the actress. I love Tessa Thompson. I just can we give her a name?
Not just
like,
Valkyrie.
Yeah, Valkyrie is like what she was in the Asgardian army, not a name. You're telling me they just call her King Valkyrie. Like, you know what I mean? Like, none of it really makes a whole lot of sense. And I know I'm being pretty nitpicky on this, but I do think they wasted her in the movie. Now that I'm done bitching, Jace, do you have anything you want to add of that you didn't like about the movie?
Yeah, really the only thing, I think a majority of the humor I'm okay with. The only thing I would say is like, yeah, there's just like a little bit much. It's like not everybody should be a comic relief character, right? Like, why in the fuck is in this Thor movie, Darcy is like one of the least comic relief characters? Like, she's very serious. Like, what the fuck is this, dude?
Full circle.
What is this?
We've come full Einstein-Rosenberg bridge on Darcy.
Like, yeah, this is crazy. Also, why in the like? I get why, but it's like kind of weird that like, you know, the like astrophysicist Dr. Selvig is telling her that the results of her tests that the chemo isn't doing anything. Like, you're telling me he's looking at her blood work? Like, I mean, maybe the guy's got a bunch of doctorates, right? But it's, I get why. It's like they want to have him in there somehow, and it's like he's reaching out to her, and he's looking, maybe she's refusing to look at it, and he's looking at it, and like basically she's finding out through him or something, but it just kind of felt like, okay, would he really be looking at her fucking blood work? Maybe, but like he's an
my guess, Jay, though,
astrophysicist.
is that he knows some people, and they're looking at it, and he's just delivering the news. That's how I read it, is he's not the one personally looking at her blood work, but he's like, he knows the best doctors, and they're looking at the blood work, and they're like, it's not going well. That's how I read it, but I get what you're saying. If they literally were trying to say that he's looking at the blood work, it's like,
also,
all right, Dr. Selvig.
I don't know if it was just kind of like a mix-up with like because, okay, first they have that where it's like the chemo's not doing anything, right? But then they're like, wow, then she gets Mjolnir, and then she's like, okay, she's doing like good when she has Mjolnir, but then they're like, oh yeah, it's like a parallel to Gore, right? Which I guess I could understand, right? Like, it's this crazy Asgardian relic or whatever, and she's just a mortal person, right? Mm-hmm. That would make sense. But then they're like, oh, if she stops using Mjolnir, then she'll be good. Like, it's kind of weird. It's like maybe they used that Selvig line at the wrong time.
Well, my thing is, they
just kind of make it seem like she'll be okay if she doesn't.
I don't think they're saying that she'll be okay. They're saying that she has zero chance if she continues to use. Like, she's gonna die if she uses the hammer again. Where if they treat her and let her rest, maybe she could come back from it.
Right.
And that kind of echoes the sentiment that Darcy gave at the beginning of the movie, where she's trying to tell her to slow down. Right. She ignores it, and then she suffers for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I get what you're saying. It's a little like
that's like definitely more of like a nitpick, right? But yeah. I was just kind of like, okay, I guess. Wait, where's the intern, guys? Where's the intern?
True. You know who did return that I predicted, Jason? Our favorite acting troupe, dude.
Oh yeah, True.
Remember, I was like, do you think Matt Damon survived? And you're like, oh yeah, he did. And then there they were, dude.
Yeah.
And they give the performance of Ragnarok.
Yep.
Which is great. With Melissa McCarthy being Hela.
Yep. I like that.
Coming in there. It's funny stuff.
Yeah, I liked that scene. I also like how they're like, oh yeah, the Mjolnir can't be moved, so we made an exhibit around where the shards fell.
Yeah, that's really cool.
I like that really idea.
Cool. I like the whole idea of that place being like a tourist trap too.
Right. Yeah, I do like that
Infinity
as
cones,
well.
dude. Great ice cream place.
Especially when you compare it to like it was just like this shitty ass fishing village.
Well, when Thor was in charge, right?
Yeah.
And then
like
Valkyrie comes in and is an entrepreneur and is like, okay, I'm gonna make this better.
Yo, I was in Sakaar for a minute.
Right. I know.
Well, honestly, yeah, she's like thousands of years old, technically, right?
Yeah. Anyway, let's move on to some category stuff now that we're going on about like what we liked and didn't like. What do you think is the best scene in this movie, Jay?
I'm gonna say it's probably the end scene with like where like basically Jane bodies Gore by destroying the sword. I love that scene.
Mm-hmm.
Like she uses I absolutely love what they did with Mjolnir, how it can, the shards, like they're connected with like the energy, but like they can come apart and like go through shit and then like come back. And I love how it like would rebuild itself and shit.
Yeah, that shit's cool as fuck.
That was so cool.
When she first does
like, how did they take Mjolnir, who was already really cool, and then made it even fucking cooler, bro? Like,
which
damn.
You just reminded me of one more gripe I have.
Okay, let it out.
So you've commented on how like not everybody can be comic relief, right?
Mm.
Well, let's see here. Thor's comic relief. Valkyrie's sometimes comic relief. Korg's definitely comic relief. The goats are comic relief. And then you add in that Mjolnir and Stormbreaker are characters of their own and well, mostly Stormbreaker. And it's like, okay, this is a little much. Like the first time Stormbreaker,
well, they're supposed to be sentient weapons, but yeah,
the
I
first
get
time
what you're saying.
Stormbreaker comes into view, I laughed. But then when they do it multiple times, and it's like, I don't know.
I laughed the first time and the second time, but then I wasn't offended by it because they only do it like 2-3 times, right? Like I wasn't super offended by it. I think it would have hit more if there was less overall.
Yeah. Well, there's the weirdness with like, okay, so in Endgame, Thor travels back to the Dark World, gets Mjolnir back, right? And then brings it to the fight with Thanos in present time. So he has Stormbreaker and Mjolnir. Cap uses Mjolnir at one point, cool. But Thor's not like obsessed with Mjolnir, right? It doesn't seem that way. He gives it up so Captain America can return it to the proper time. I don't know. It just seemed like and I get it's like an analogy for him like missing Jane and being like jealous that Jane's back on the scene. But like the obsession with it almost feels like he's more excited to see Mjolnir again than Jane, to me, the way they play it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it especially if you look at it compared to like Ragnarok, right? I think it was set up fine. Like when you jump from Ragnarok to Love and Thunder, it actually makes more sense, right? Because Korg is because he's reminiscing of the hammer, right? In Ragnarok, and he's like, man, if only I had my hammer. And he's talking to Korg, and Korg is like, wow, it's almost like losing this hammer was like losing a loved one.
I suppose that's true, yeah. You're right.
And so I think that it is set. I think that that's fine. I like it. It actually made me laugh pretty good the first time like Stormbreaker like comes into the room when he's trying to reach out for Mjolnir. That fucking actually made me laugh pretty hard.
I do agree that first time's funny. I feel like after it he's pouring the beer on it.
And then when he tries to use the Bifrost, he's like, Mjolnir, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like I liked that too. Then when it like levitates over there later after he like picks it up and he's like, oh yeah, still worthy, right? That one, I wasn't offended by that. And then like when he pours the beer on it or whatever, it's like, okay, whatever.
Right.
It's just like a setup to get him out there and then have Jane
That's
talk to
true.
him,
That's true.
right?
I'm being
Like,
a little nitpicky on that for sure.
You could have. What would have happened if that didn't exist is, oh, there's some like weird haywireness with it for no reason.
Yeah.
And then he's like holding on to Stormbreaker.
I guess my
right?
only problem is that, like you said, there's a ton of comic relief, and then they make up these characters with the weapons to be comic relief too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, we didn't need this necessarily, but anyway, back to what your favorite scene was. I'm sorry.
But yeah, how they break the sword, and how she's like the one that like breaks it, and then like realizes that like she's a much smarter hero than I feel like an average hero would have been. Like an average hero, he would have just remade the sword, right? But she actually like realizes, and then like does a dope ass the most Thor thing ever, where you just point in the sky and there's lightning, and then slam it on the fucking ground. Like, I just love that scene. And then like even from like the start of that scene when she comes in, and it's just like the most Thor thing ever. It's like very reminiscent of the Captain America thing, where, you know, it's like Thanos is about to stab into Thor, like in a very similar scene. And then boom, Mjolnir comes in, hits him, and then, but it's not Chris Evans, it's Natalie Portman. So it's like it's really cool. But it's like in a very different emotion, right? Whereas like when Captain America does it, it's like you're like, wow.
And he's like,
right?
I knew it.
But then when Jane does it, you're like, fuck, like she's gonna die. Like it's cool, but it's very sad at the same time. And you can see that in Thor, right? He's like, no, like why? Like, oh, like I'd rather die, right?
Yeah.
Like it's so sad. And so I think it makes the scene even more cool that, like, you know, Thor and Jane got to have this scene together where they're fighting, and it's like what they would want to do if it wasn't for the circumstance, right? Yeah. And I don't know, I saw it was really cool how she destroys the sword. And then honestly, it's like Thor's pretty useless, right? Like he's like, Stormbreaker, like stop, and he's like stabbing at the shadow hands and stuff and trying to get it to stop, when like in reality maybe he could just like turn it. I don't know,
for sure.
But
dude, ninja kicked a tank over earlier. You can't ninja kick Stormbreaker down, dude.
Right. It's like, come on now, bro. But I think I'm fine with it because I like that it's about Jane, right? Like it's not about him.
Right. They let her cook in an action way, you know? Yeah.
I liked it. And then also combined with that scene with the little kids having the power of Thor,
that's pretty good
fucking
scene.
Cool too.
The little girl with the bunny rabbit just screaming and spraying beams out of its eyes.
The laser beam.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
I think the best scene is not the scene even though I really like the scene you described. I think the best scene is the when they're in the Shadow Realm on the little moon, and they're in his tent, and they just let Christian Bale cook, dude.
That is a really good scene,
he's like,
too.
Call the axe. And you're like, oh, shit. And then he's breaking down each individual character. And I told you I had
he's reading them.
I had a hard time coming up with a Wong Fortify Your Minds thing. And I'm still not sure that I have it, because I don't remember what he says, but something he says to Valkyrie, and the way he says it is like
in that scene.
Fuck. I'm trying to see if it's in
when he's like, "Did you cry out to your gods or something?"
Yeah, but it's not about what he says; it's how he says it. You know, like most Fortify Your Minds are.
Yeah. I feel like the Fortify Your Minds quote. I mean, are we doing that right now? I think I know what the Fortify Your Minds quote is.
Oh, you do? What is it?
But it's just like, It's Zeus. Like, I take off your disguise.
Oh, see,
Like,
okay, that's a good one. Mine was doesn't it?
well, and then he's like, I'll take off their disguises too.
Yeah.
They're like, no.
I take off your disguise, like the way. Yeah. Okay, I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
There's something. I'm gonna have to watch it again, but there's something Gore says to Valkyrie, and the way he just says it, like it's so like.
Yeah.
It's very comparable to Odin. Who has been winning the Fortify Your Minds category by a landslide
In
every
the Thor movies.
Yeah. Look at that over there, and then he just vanishes. But
no, nothing is said.
nothing's there.
Yeah.
Anyway,
the other. I feel like the other candidate for Fortify Your Minds is also just like Korg's song, like how he's like, I want to get in your eyes.
that's true.
Like,
That's true.
how he says it is funny.
Yeah, you're right. That's a good one too. But that's my favorite scene because I like how he like kind of like he doesn't just have them like like all like tentacled up. He's like psychologically getting in their heads. All three of them.
Right. Like, that's way worse than them being strangled currently, is what he's
But
actually
then
saying.
when he starts strangling like Jane, and the way they made her like eyes pop.
Yeah.
It's pretty intense, and I was like, this is cool. And then the fight itself afterwards, I think, is super cool and super stylish. And
how he calls it in, and it just, like, blows up the whole freaking thing, like, clears the building and all that stuff. Also, like, how, yeah, she literally figures out what's going on, too. Like, that's why I really like Jane's character.
Yeah, Jane's very
I'm
intelligent person.
Sad she's fucking dead. She's actually a smart fucking...
Right. Super.
They need somebody smart, dude. They got fucking Thor.
Right. Yeah, he's dumber than before now somehow. We know the answer to good villain or bad villain, but he's a good villain.
100% good.
I wish they would have given him more.
I wish we could have seen more of the scenes, because it very much felt like, when he goes in there and like there's the story where, oh yeah, he chopped off Thanos' head with Stormbreaker.
Yeah,
and
the
then,
Humpty.
Like, yeah, it's very clear that it's like, okay, Gore's not completely corrupted, right? Like he wants to have a moment with these kids because he and people are like, wow, can't believe they turned Gore into a kidnapper or whatever, right? And it's like, okay, it's two things, guys. Fucking random Reddit poster, Reddit frequenter, okay? Listen here, dude. For one, Gore is just a normal fucking person, and then gets fucked over by the gods, and then so he's like, okay, this sword is promising me that I'm gonna be able to get revenge, right? But before, he's just like a dad, right? Like he just cares about his kid.
The evilness in him is from the Necro blade or what, Necro sword.
Right, exactly. Like he literally to his dying breath was taking care of his kid and like staying true to his faith, right? Like he's not this like super corrupt dude, right? Mm-hmm. And then he sees these kids, and it's obvious that he is still very much in control, right? Mm-hmm. He's definitely, his mind is warped. He's been killing dudes for days and like probably years and shit, like just been killing people, and then like being corrupted by the sword. But at the same time, it's obvious that he has the moment where he's fighting Thor, and like he could 1v1 Thor, but then he then eyeballs Jane and then Valkyrie, and he's like, okay, I'm not gonna win this fight, right? So in an intelligent way, he kidnaps the kids, brings them, and then he's like, he's obviously gonna be like watching the kids and making sure that like Thor isn't showing up or whatever, right? Or that they're escaping or something. But then he, like, his inner dad, like, wants to make these kids laugh or something, but he's, like, fucking demented, right? So, like, that shit happens. He even brings the kids with him because he doesn't want these, like, kids to die necessarily, right? Like, he just wants to fucking kill all the gods to get revenge for his daughter, right? So I think that it's a couple of things, and I think that it's cool because then in those scenes, you see that, like, it very much humanizes him, that he's, like... he talks to the kids about how they remind him of his kid, like literally says like she liked to draw and like all this stuff, and you go from being weirded out and creeped out by him but to like immediately being like feeling sorry for him.
No, I agree. I think like everything about the villain is great. The only nitpick I have is, and it's a very nitty pick because I like how they end the movie, but the way that Thor says, you could just bring her back, and he makes a face like, oh shit, I didn't think of that. You know what I mean? And it's because he no longer has the sword, and the sword no longer has a hold on him. But it comes off a little bit like, oh man, what would have been a great movie is if Gore just wished for his daughter back and didn't kill all those gods, Because I'm a little confused by his plan in general.
Well, I mean, the idea is that like the sword is just constantly like talking to him, like very much in like, you could think of it in like a way like in Lord of the Rings or whatever, where it's just like a dominating his mind, right?
Yeah.
Like it's just, kill all gods, but then in the back of his head, he's like, yeah, my daughter, right? Like,
Right.
I want to avenge my daughter. That's the reason.
No, I get that, but like
then,
the plan from the get-go, because the sword speaks to him and says, go to eternity, kill all the gods, right? That's the plan.
yeah.
And I guess my thought, the way I connected it in my head, and maybe this is wrong, is that he knew he needed Stormbreaker, so he was killing gods to get Thor's attention?
Well, I think the idea is that so for one, he's just killing gods because that's what he's supposed to do as like Gore the God Butcher with the Necro Sword, right?
Well, right, but like...
But then he's also looking for the key, I think, as part of it, right?
Yeah.
It's like, I don't think it would be like, oh, only Stormbreaker has the power to do the Bifrost.
Well, I don't know, because
Which, I mean, it could be, but like,
in his drawings,
he doesn't know that.
In his drawings, like, that Jane looks at, it's Stormbreaker. It's not just like, oh, anything. It's just Stormbreaker.
I think... I wouldn't be surprised if there was a scene where he's killing a god and he's like trying to find out how to get trying to figure out how to do it, and a god is like pleading with him or some shit, right?
Oh, well,
like,
I guess that's probably the
like,
deleted scene where Peter Dinklage was in, right?
Yeah, or like saying, or even not necessarily even like begging, or like in a mocking way, right? Like, oh, you'll never get this. Like, I'm about to kill you or some shit, right? Like, in a similar way to how the beginning was, right? Where like he's not taken seriously.
Yeah. Anyway, that was my one
I wouldn't
nitpick
be
with him
surprised.
as the villain, but I think there's probably a deleted scene that explains it better.
Yeah. Well, and I think also part like what you said, like he's not connected to the sword. It's not like dominating his mind or whatever or corrupting him. But like it's that plus him seeing a parallel of how he was holding his daughter as she was dying, and then Thor holding Jane as she's dying.
Oh, for sure.
Right. What's like he's like he clearly has like a like memory flood, like his head hurts, like type deal, and he's like, okay, like I can do this, right? But what were we talking about before you were like, I have another nitpick? I don't remember.
Oh, we were just talking about that.
Oh, okay.
We were just talking about Gore and how he's cool, and how Christian Bale's
I really
a
like how
legend.
he moves. Like when he fights him in New Asgard, that was cool. Like he's very fast. Like he just dips down into the floor. That was really cool.
Yeah, I agree.
And I liked it because it made him believable to be strong and fast without having to be super big and imposing, right? Because like when you look up a picture of Gore the God Butcher, like from the comics, he looks like a big imposing dude, right?
Yeah.
Like he's Gore the God
He
Butcher,
also
but
looks
then in
like
this
Voldemort.
version, yeah, he does actually. But in this version,
he's got his nose.
A human, but like he got his nose, and how they do it and how it actually looks, and then a lot of times he's being helped by like some shadow arms and stuff. It makes it a lot more believable for him to be actually taking on Thor, who fucking killed Thanos,
Right.
like almost killed Thanos once and then did fucking just lop his head off another time, right? Like
True. So tell me when to stop, because I'm floating over trivia stolen from IMDb.
Okay. 3, 2, 1, stop.
Wow, these suck. Tell me to stop again.
Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, stop. Dude, can I tell you a piece of trivia that I saw,
Yeah,
dude?
yeah. Tell me. Well,
That I thought was cool.
I'm actually trying to find a cool one. Tell me.
When they're in Omnipotent City, it's like more of like an Easter egg, I guess, rather than like trivia. So I don't know if that's whatever, dude. I thought it was cool, but one of the gods that's in there is actually the god like of like Wakanda.
Oh yeah. Well, okay. I've actually seen a lot about this. What's the name of the god?
I don't know.
That actress is like, it's a non-speaking part, so she doesn't have to be credited. But she says on her like IMDb page that it is that god, the Wakanda one. But she's not credited, so it's not like confirmed. But like, I don't know what else she would be.
Right. Like they might do a thing where it's like, well, it wasn't actually her.
Right.
It was like a lesser one. Like, I don't know. Yeah, they could do that for sure. But I thought that was cool that there was like one where it's like, oh yeah, like obviously he name drops Ra, which is like Egyptian and is like tied to like Moon Knight and stuff. But like you don't see Ra.
Here's one. On the days they would film kissing scenes, Chris Hemsworth would abstain from meat because Natalie Portman is vegan.
Wow. What a nice guy.
What a gentleman. Here's another good one. When Thor and Jane discuss their breakup, Jane estimates it happened 3 years ago, while Thor says 8. The reason for that difference is Jane was dusted for 5 years in the decimation after Avengers Infinity War, and contrary to Thor saying Loki that it was a mutual dumping in Thor Ragnarok, this movie makes it clear that Jane was the one who finally pulled the plug. But basically, she says 3 because she was dusted for 5 years. And
right.
Then,
she's like,
or
oh,
she says 8,
years.
and he says 8, and she says 3.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway.
Yeah, that's a cool Easter egg.
That was the trivia.
Or trivia.
What's the worst scene in this movie, Jay?
It's probably the scene directly after the intro. Like, it's still part of it, I would say. It's before the scene where, like, he's talking with the Guardians and stuff, but it's like when they're giving him the goats. That scene's dog shit. Like, he's talking to the king. He's trying to talk to the king about the temple, and he's like, I don't want to talk about it. Like, that scene is just
what was
dog
the deal
shit.
with that king, dude? He was just kind of cringe.
Yeah.
He would talk like this. Like, what was his deal?
In a different universe, he's played by Jeff Goldblum, and it's way better, but, like...
Well, like, one point, he goes like like that, and it's like, wait, what is this guy trying to do here? What's?
Yeah, I don't know, dude. It was kind of some quirky Rick and Morty ass shit, but like, yeah, that's probably the worst scene to me. I'm not super in love with the town hall scene.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking
scene.
too. Even though I like Meek.
I like that you see what makes me not like it, right, is like you see where Thor sees that there's his people and they're freaking out and they're scared and stuff, and he realizes somebody needs to take charge, right? And so just his inner king, he's like Asgard, and everybody instantly is listening, and I like that. But then it's like he's just like forgotten how to do a speech or something, right? Which I guess you could say like, oh yeah, he's like rusty, like, you know, he's been playing Fortnite for 5 year,s like,
right.
He's not as good, but like there's that, and then in combo with like Meek, can you please stop scribbling? Like, those in combo, I'm not super in love with it.
I know what the worst scene is, dude, and I don't. It's not the worst scene. It's the worst moment, I guess. In the first fight when Gore is infiltrating the new Asgard, and Thor shows up and Valkyrie's like, "Oh, about time," or whatever, and he notices Mjolnir, and then when he finally walks up and he goes, "Hey, that's my hammer," and she takes off her mask and he goes, "Jane?" And then it does this weird cut to the building falling over, and
that is a really cringe moment.
It's supposed to be
true.
like so funny. It's supposed to be like, oh, they're just standing there, and like it's like weirdly edited,
yeah,
and cut very weird, and it's almost like they had all the extras off the set. It was just the two of them when they did it. because like it's supposed to be like this loud battle. There's Asgardians fighting these shadow monsters, and it's like dead silence except for the thing falling. And I get
it was like definitely done in either like COVID filming or pickups,
right, and,
like one of the two.
And it's just so like, and it's the kind of thing like you put in like, you know, you and your buddies are making a movie for YouTube when you're like 12 years old,
or in the trailer, and then it's not in the movie.
Right. And it just felt like that moment. And I do like the scene where you like get to see more of their relationship that we didn't get to see in the other movies, like right after it. Where Korg kind of tells us about it. I like that. But that leading up to it is so bad. I
like how it's like reminiscent of like, oh, this is like basically what it's like when Thor is like you're basically spectating Thor, but as Thor, right? Like, oh, this is what it would be like to be a random person on the battlefield or whatever. And then it's very this is why I'm so glad you brought that up, because this was something I was thinking of while we were in the theater. But I was like, dude, but I forgot it, because it's like, it's what ended up making us talk about how we're going to do these, because there's certain thoughts that I have about the movie, but it's like when I'm in the theater, I can't like whip out my phone and be like type something real quick so that I remember, right? Like, but I think what makes it super weird, like as far as pacing, is I feel like it's a second intro, right? Because it's like, oh, this is her intro, right? Mm-hmm. It's Mighty Thor's intro. It's the beginning of the movie where Thor's killing all these bad guys in this big fight, and there's a voiceover. You know what I mean? Like it's for her. It's not for Thor. It's for Mighty Thor. So I thought that was kind of cool, where it's like, basically it's the second intro, but it's for her.
Right.
But yeah, that joke of the burning building falling over is fucking cringe for sure.
Yeah. No, I just can't. I watching it the second time, I was like, man, I thought that would like hit a little better, but it did not. It was not improved on a second watch. Do you have any more nitpicks about the movie? My biggest one is that no one would want to be named Axel after Axl Rose. That's like that's just like such like, this man is just a disaster of a person, and no one would look at him and go, I want to be named that. It just wouldn't happen.
I can't really
Yeah, I think we hit most of the nitpicks. What part of the movie made you pop off the most?
Probably the first time seeing the Mjolnir bits like fly through things and then be rebuilt.
It's really good.
That's the pop off. When it reassembles and shit, you're like, holy shit.
That's like the one good part of the score too. Like the music that plays when it's doing that is really cool. Best Marvel Easter egg, Jason. I'm gonna say where he goes, the temple that they go to meet Eternity, has statue heads of a bunch of different really important Marvel figures. The Watcher, Lady Death, Infinity. There's other ones that I can't remember right now. The Living Tribunal. They're all the different.
Did you say the Watcher?
The Watcher, yep. So there's some pretty important Marvel bigwigs there in that, and I think that's pretty cool. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that's like specifically like, I mean, if that Black Panther one's true, that's pretty cool. Bastet, is that the name?
It's like BASTT or something.
Bastet. Bastet.
I don't know.
I think it's Bastet. One that people really like is the Taika Waititi made these shorts that weren't specifically canon that you can find on Disney Plus, where Thor has a roommate named Daryl, and Daryl is the tour guide in New Asgard. And there are multiple times where I noticed this time too, where Valkyrie's like, Daryl, do this, Daryl, do that. So Daryl is now canon, which a lot of people are excited about, apparently. Yeah, I can't think of anything else that's like specifically like. There's not. This was like, actually, with the exception of the Guardians, this was a pretty disconnected from what the established Marvel Cinematic Universe canon, right?
I mean, yeah, they do reference like stuff from Endgame and Infinity War,
right. But it's not like Hulk shows up somewhere or
Yeah.
You don't see the hand of the
like
Celestial
that.
sticking out of the ocean in Eternals. That still no one in anything past Eternals has fucking referenced. It's like it doesn't fucking exist.
Yeah. Movie's bad, dude. I mean, what? Oh. In like the flashback scenes when Nick Fury's calling him, I liked that it says Nick Fury.
Yep.
I don't know, that's funny to me.
Yep.
Like it got me thinking. I was like, wait, is that Skrull Nick Fury or is that actual Nick Fury? Does he have Nick Fury in his phone? So then when he got Nick Fury's phone number, he was like, oh, it's Nick Fury, but it's not really Nick Fury. It's Nick Fury. Like, I don't even know, dude.
Yeah. I'm still interested. This is a side tangent, but I'm still interested to find out when exactly Nick Fury became a Skrull. Because we don't know the answer to that. Memes, Jason. Memes. The only meme I remember seeing from people use the format of Thor looking into Chris Pratt's or into Star-Lord's eyes kind of thing.
Yeah, I've seen that a lot.
Like me, your Star-Lord, all my responsibilities, the Guardians, and then video games as Thor comes into frame, you know?
Yeah.
But my favorite that I've seen is a picture of Christian Bale. And above it says Christian Bale, and then it shows Gore, and it says Atheist Bale.
That's pretty good. I did not see that one. That's good.
Christian Bale, Atheist Bale.
I feel like I didn't really see many memes, but I also, because we saw it a little late, I was also kind of staying away from everything.
Right,
Marvel
yeah, we didn't see it right on opening
purpose.
night, yeah.
So there's probably some bangers that I missed out on.
You know the meme of the guy walking with his girlfriend and he's turning around looking at the other girl?
Yeah, the classic.
I've seen a lot of Mjolnir's the other girl and Stormbreaker's the girlfriend.
Okay.
You know.
Okay.
I just saw this one, and it's Thor when he's like, working out with the chains. And it says, Thor after hearing that Wanda is single, crazy, and wants kids.
I
don't know why someone made that.
Dude, relatable.
Very, very relatable. Okay, I think that's it, Jason, for our categories. Is there anything else you want to say about this movie before we put it on the tier list for the first time?
I really like the movie. I think it's like a solid, like, if I had to give it like a Metacritic score, I'd give it like a 81 probably.
Okay.
Like that's just how I'm feeling about it. Having seen it twice now, and I guess the other thing we didn't really talk about at all is he does wish for his daughter back.
Yeah, we didn't talk about the ending, and he wishes.
And he has to. Yeah. He wishes for the daughter to come back, and he has to take care of her. And I do really like how they ended up showing like the end card scene where it's like they're just known as Love and Thunder, and then it shows it, and I did really like that. And the chemistry between them, obviously it's his daughter, right? So that's pretty easy. Like, it's Chris Hemsworth's daughter.
Right. I like how they do the fake out in that scene where you think he's like getting her ready for school. But really he's getting her ready to go like defend an alien race that's going to be like destroyed,
Right. Well, and she has like unknown superpowers because she was resurrected by eternity.
Yeah.
So like,
and love, like most feelings in Marvel comics, is a character. Like she's the personified embodiment of love, which is she's like a step below eternity in like the pantheon of like of like the way gods and celestials and things like that work. So it is and I don't know if they're not doing it the exact same way because she's a little girl.
Yeah, so she's just like a young god now. Like, it's weird.
Yeah, but it's interesting. I don't know if they're gonna make a Thor 5. I mean, based on how much money the movie made, you think they would, but it's not in their phase 5 or 6 plans, right? As far as we know.
Right. Not announced yet.
And I think because there's so many people being stinky about it on the internet, I don't know if they will. But you got to figure Thor's going to feature in some of those Avengers movies in some way. So I'm sure we'll see him again sooner and later. But yeah, no, I really like the way the movie ended. I know I picked on it earlier, but I do like that Gore decides to bring his daughter back after getting disconnected from the Necro Sword, because it's the kind of thing that people like complained about in Multiverse of Madness, where they're like, "Oh, Wanda wouldn't act like that, even if the Darkhold had but he acts how you think he would without that outline force, like pressuring him because it's gone."
Right.
So I do like that.
And I definitely like that he ends up like making the right decision, right? Like obviously he is a bad guy, but like it's not 100% his fault, but yeah, he does fucked up stuff, like killing a ton of people, and then like an unknown amount of people, right? Because it's like that whole battlefield, there's just like people everywhere, and Sif is like the only survivor, it looks like, right?
Yeah.
Like who knows, but yeah, he makes the right decision at the end of the day. And yeah, that whole ending is so sad for me, like, between like Jane dying and all that, and then like you feel bad that the girl's dad is dying now, and there's just like all this stuff, and then like Thor is just like taking it in stride still, like he lost another loved one again,
Right.
And then it's just like, yeah, I'll take care of this girl, it's not her fault.
But I don't know. I think it's a cool like wrinkle in the Thor story, because you and I had talked about this before. Like, what is left for Thor to do? He's
Besides get killed,
but he, now he has a person to raise, fatherhood, which is hinted at one of the reasons him and Jane broke it off in the first place, because he was pressuring himself about having kids, right?
right?
And so he kind of, in the end, gets a kid and has to, do that, and so.
Well, yeah, that's what was so weird too about like, oh yeah, what is Thor's arc now? Because it's like he's not king anymore, which he could be, which like that's typically what happens is like normally like he gets his arm lopped off and he's got like a freaking Winter Soldier ass arm, and he becomes like King Thor, right?
Right.
Like he's got the missing eye, he's got the missing arm, and he becomes like the actual king. But it's like, okay, no, he's not even king now. So what's gonna happen now? Is he just gonna die? Well, I guess now he's just Uncle Thor.
Yeah. Uncle Thor. Anyway, Jay, I think we're ready to rank this one. I've shared my screen with you so you can see our tier list so far.
Okay.
Right now we have Spider-Man No Way Home, Thor Ragnarok, and Iron Man in S tier. We have Doctor Strange in A tier and Multiverse of Madness in A tier. Doctor Strange in B tier. Original Thor in B tier right behind it. Thor the Dark World in C tier right in front of Eternals. So we are ranking Thor Love and Thunder today. I am going to just put this out here. I think I like Multiverse of Madness a bit better.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. I think it's a better movie.
So what we have to decide, but I do like Love and Thunder more than the original Doctor Strange. So what we have to decide is this below Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness on A tier, or is it B tier above the Doctor Strange?
My first instinct is to say it's an A, but I think what's going to end up happening is there's going to be so many movies in A that's going to inevitably just be like, you know what, Jason, let's bump it down into B. We got a lot of people in A. Like it's effectively the same spot.
It could happen, but I think for right now we put it in A right behind Multiverse of Madness.
Okay, I agree with that.
And don't be surprised if Eternal starts creeping down in this F rank area, because the more I think about that movie, the less I like it. There you have it, folks. A tier movie, we're gonna say. Right now A2, second in A tier. We've only ranked 9 movies so far. And actually 2 of them are brand new. So we've only ranked 7 movies that we originally ranked so far. But here's the plan. Ladies and gentlemen, the plan is we're going to have 3 more episodes to finish out season 2, starting with Loki season 1.
Finish out season 1.
Or yeah, I said season 2. I meant season 1. You're right. Loki season 1. We're going to do that next. Then we're going to jump back to Iron Man 2, leading into the original Avengers movie. And that's going to end season 1 for us here on Final Do It Myself. So I hope you will please look forward to that. Those are the next 3 episodes. And then we're going to start season 2 with Black Panther, leading into Wakanda Forever.
Sure.
So we got a packed lineup for you guys. We're pretty excited for it.
Yeah.
We're going to keep rolling. And I was telling Jason, it seems like we're never going to catch up, but we will catch up eventually. So,
True.
and then we'll have nothing. Anyway, we'll have nothing like Thor again.
I guess we gotta rewatch. We gotta rewatch the first one. Just see if it's recency bias.
Yep, it's recency bias. Ooh, Thor the Dark World's really good. All right, Jason, say the thing that you say or whatever.
Excelsior!
Bye. All right, post-credit scene, Jason. Dun dun dun. First
Oh,
post-credit
snap.
scene, we find out that Zeus is in fact alive, and he gives this big monologue about how people used to pray to gods, right? But now all they care about are these superheroes. All the superheroes.
When did we become
When
the
did
joke?
we become the joke? You understand this, Hercules, my son? And then this big ass motherfucker jumps down. Fucking Hercules looking just, this dude's fucking hairy and fucking ripped, dude.
Yeah, he's kind of hulking
Just
out.
a big, hairy, ripped motherfucker comes down. And he's like, yeah, father. So,
Giga Chad.
it seems like the next time we see Thor, he might be dealing with Hercules. And that's kind of that teaser. There's not really much else to say about it other than, okay, they cast a guy.
It kind of feels like an empty teaser to me because it's like when I saw it the second time, I was like, wait, like Thor isn't slotted for anything right now. Like, what is going to happen in 10 years, bro?
Maybe,
Like,
maybe
what-
they do a TV show, you know?
Maybe.
That'd be nuts if they got Chris Hemsworth on a 6-episode TV show. I feel like that'd be nuts. It's one thing to
Yeah.
get Sebastian Stan and Anthony Mackie, right? And whatever Hawkeye's actor's name is that I can't remember. It's one thing to get those guys on a TV show. Chris Hemsworth, that's a big deal. Why can't I think of his name? I like the actor.
Why can't I either? Like, I'm sitting here laughing like, damn, that's fucked up, bro. But like, I know his name, but I just can't think of it because you said that.
This is like when I couldn't think of Peter Dinklage earlier. The Dink Master. Jeremy Renner.
Yes, dude.
Yeah, Jeremy Renner.
Dude, I feel so bad, dude, because I
I
actually
love
Jeremy Renner.
I think he's great. Yeah. I didn't mean to grief him. But it's one thing to get Jeremy Renner on a show. Actually, Oscar Isaac's kind of a big deal on a show, right?
Yeah.
Owen Wilson. Wow.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's that scene, and then the second post-credit scene is Jane showing up at the gates of Valhalla, and she's met by Heimdall, who's like, yo, thanks for watching out for my kid. Welcome to Valhalla, where all of the warriors go for their afterlife.
Well, she's not even there as a warrior. She's there as a god.
Well, right, because she became,
Which is
she
crazy.
became the mighty Thor.
Right, yeah. Like, she actually is, like, on that level of being a god, according to Valhalla. Because when she dies, she turns into the mist, like Odin, right? Like, I guess that's one thing that would lead credence to Loki maybe not really being dead. Is like he didn't turn into the mist, did he? Like he just was dead.
Yeah, but this is something they like it. That's what happened to Odin and Ragnarok. But then this is something they kind of like. I don't want to say retconned, but they kind of.
Well, because it happens in Dark World as well when the mom dies.
Yes, but it doesn't happen when Volstagg dies.
Right. No, but they're not gods. It's only god level.
Isn't everybody on Asgard a god?
No, they're just Asgardians. No, it's like there's like another
level,
level,
why is Lady
right?
Sif
Where it's
saying
like,
she's going to Valhalla?
Well, okay, so there's two ways you get into Valhalla.
Oh,
as a
and
god,
you're saying only the
or
gods
as a
turn into
warrior.
gold.
Yes. Only the gods turn into gold, and then like the gold glittering and shit. And then the other ones just die, right? Like Heimdall. When Heimdall dies, he doesn't turn into the gold glitter. He just dies. Right, as a warrior.
I guess I don't understand the difference. They're all in the same spot.
It's implying that she's on a god level, is what I'm saying.
Right.
Like she doesn't even enter in there as
Thor.
As an Asgardian warrior. She enters in there as a motherfucking god.
So in the comics,
I think that's cool.
In the comics, what happens is she dies, and then Odin resurrects her as a Valkyrie. She comes back as a Valkyrie and then beats cancer because she still, for some reason, when he resurrects her, she still has the cancer. I don't know why Odin just didn't get rid of the cancer. Kind of a dick move, Odin. But
yeah.
So that's what happens in the comics. I don't think they're gonna do that. Mostly because I think they had to kind of like Taika Waititi had to go to Natalie Portman and be like, "Hey, I know you don't want to be in these movies anymore, but I have this idea," and she went with it. Unless she's like, "Yo, I'll come back and be a Valkyrie," unless she's into that idea too. I don't know if she is or not, but I don't think they're just gonna suddenly start bringing back, like, I've seen people say some copium shit like, "Well, the Loki we know is gonna come back, and then Heimdall and Odin and this and that," and it's like, I don't think, like, yeah, that door's open where those characters could come back. I don't think they're gonna do that. I think they're ready to move on to different things. The actors and the people making the movies.
I could still see Loki coming back, but yeah, not in the way that people are saying they'll come back because they're involved.
Well, I think they would have done that, but they have this TV show Loki now, and I think with the way everything's headed, he's gonna feature in these movies. Like, he's gonna be in the Secret Wars and the King Dynasty movie. I just really think that's where they're headed to.
I could see it.
Because he's dealing with Kang on his own already in season 2, it seems like. So
yeah.
I really think that Loki's gonna be there, and so they don't have a need to resurrect the other Loki,
Yeah. I do like that as more of like an Easter egg, but that on Thor's back, like, he has the horns, and then he has the list of people who died that he cares about, right? He doesn't have any of the warriors to read.
That's true, dude.
But by Loki, he has a question mark. Like, I'm not sure if Loki should be on this list.
I'm not sure if Loki's dead or not. I never know, actually. That's the beauty of Loki. Anyway, that's the post-credit scene. Pretty cool that they gave Jane her due, and I really think, to my point I said earlier about I don't think they're gonna resurrect her. I think that's part of the point, is they gave her this, like, hero's ending. Yeah. They said, "You're in Valhalla now." This was kind of sad at the end of the movie, but we made it a little better by saying you're in Valhalla, right? So
yeah, it's kind of like the end of Lord of the Rings, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's sad. Frodo's essentially dead. But it's like, he's in heaven now. You know what I mean? Like, he went to the Undying Lands. He didn't die. He went to the Undying Lands, guys. It's not as bad.
Right. It's all just a euphemism for Christianity, that Lord of the Rings. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. We'll see you later. Bye.